Oh, that was excellent, Claire. Thank you. I can't share that, but here we go. Here I am with Claire Catchpole, who is part of the Broch Inspectors, who are a great little group playing Irish, Scottish music all over the Riviera. They're super good. We'll talk about that. But we're really here to talk about Claire's walk and talk thing. So I'm going to get her to talk about that a bit later. But first of all, we got to say hello to Claire. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Mike. Hello, everyone. It's just great to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Well, tell us a bit about yourself, Claire. What brought you to the Riviera?
Well, I came with my partner, Stu, who is the other half of Broch Inspectors as well. We were living in London, and for various reasons to do with work and kind of the lifestyle in London, as you get to a certain point, you realize it's quite wearing being in a massive city, and we wanted to kind of have a different life, really. So Stu already had quite a lot of connections down in Nice through his music, and it didn't take much persuading because I've always loved the Mediterranean, and I had my GCSE level French. So we came down, and it's now 11 years ago, and managed to kind of make our home here.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And so, what gave rise to the Brock Inspectors?
Well, basically, I've always loved playing Irish and Scottish music. I was trained as a classical musician, and I still love classical music and still play a bit on my own. But I was always very jealous of people who could kind of play their fiddle and get people up on their feet dancing. I just thought that was like magic. And Stu, on the other hand, he kind of came through. He's Scottish, and one of his first gigs was actually playing in a ceilidh band, touring around Scotland. And so he's always had that. And even though he's actually an excellent jazz drummer, superstar, he still has that connection with the kind of Celtic music. So we just it's taken us quite a long time, but we ended up doing a whole year where we played and recorded a tune every day and shared it on Facebook and Instagram. So that kind of put us in good stead. And then every so often we do some gigs in Nice, especially around St. Patrick's Day.
Well, I'll share a link to those. They're excellent. I love those little ditties and everything. And you've got quite a following after a while. So, yeah, I'm going to share that. So, the main reason for our talk today is to talk about, well, walk and talk, which is English and French or French and English and wandering around talking to strangers. Love the idea. So, how is this organized, please?
Okay, well, we'll start. So, Walk and Talk has been going for 2 or 3 years now. And I kind of started it up as a reaction after the COVID lockdowns, where, suddenly you felt like your social life had kind of slightly slipped away. And I just desperately wanted to get out. I was teaching online, and just needed to make myself go out more. And it's become a really lovely thing where every month or so, sort of approximately a month, I organize a meetup. I have a group on Facebook, and we normally get about a dozen or so, sometimes more, sometimes less. And it's mainly English speaking, but we always have French people who want to practice English and are usually very happy to exchange English and French. So that's happening, and it's totally free to join, and I can share the link for the group with you afterwards. And then so from
Can I
this,
just ask you where you
yeah.
go on these walks? Is it the same
Ah,
walk
yes.
or is
No,
it
no, we
thematic? Oh,
I mean, there are definitely favorites. So obviously the promenade, it's always in Nice. So that's the main thing. It's always somewhere that's easy to get to in Nice. And we don't tend to do anything too sort of, hard going. We do have to go up hills sometimes because we love Montbaron. Parc d'Estiendorf is another favorite. So I try and mix it up. But the promenade just always works brilliantly because everyone enjoys that. It's flat and there's always a nice cafe or bar at the end where we can sit down together as well.
so so what's the next phase that you want to tell us about?
So the next phase, so now I sort of put my English teaching, French learning hat on because I've always sort of noticed, or very early on when I first started organizing the walk and talks, that it's such an amazing way to kind of get to meet people, but also the fact that you're out in the open, you're moving, makes it sort of much easier to talk, and also even in another language. Sorry, I'm not I'm not explaining this very well.
Oh.
But yeah, it's just like you kind of people just come together, and I had one particular group. I remember it was very international. We had, I think, Japanese and Korean and German and Italian, and everyone had a different level of English and French. And if it was a classroom, it would be a complete disaster. You wouldn't know what to do as a teacher trying to match people and everything. But somehow everyone just mingled, everyone was talking, everyone was laughing. It was just such an eye-opener for an English teacher, which is what my main sort of job is. And I just thought this surely, we can do something a bit more with this. Um, and so on one side, as an English teacher, I have all these people who are learning English who tell me, well, when their 20 hours of CPF, the government subsidized training, is finished, I ask them, what are you going to do to continue? And they say, well, I don't know, maybe watch Netflix. And it's kind of, well, really, you want to use the language, you want to keep practice speaking. So that's, for them, this is an ideal opportunity to practice. But then, of course, there's a huge population of international residents. We call them expats, but, international people who want to speak French, and they speak English maybe as a second language, maybe as a first language. And so the idea is really for them to come together to practice their French, but also to have a social life which is with French speakers and, and English speakers. So it's not just a kind of expat bubble, which can happen. And it's kind of helping people overcome that bump when you've had enough lessons, you've got a bit of language, but then when you're faced with a real conversation with a real French or English person, and all sorts of things can go wrong, and it can be very, it can really knock your confidence when there's a misunderstanding or they reply too fast. So this group is really about meeting regularly. So there'll be at least 3 or 4 activities per month. It'll be kind of an exchange. So there'll be 2 activities, which would be like a walk and talk or sitting in a cafe, which is really about just talking. And there'll be one activity that's a bit more immersive, where I'll actually curate and facilitate something where people get to meet different people doing different things in Nice. It'll be something cultural, maybe to do with history. I'm going to try and mix it up. So each month there'll be a slightly different focus, and my plan is to have a theme for each month so that there's a feeling of progression, that we're not just always stuck in small talk. There'll always be something new to talk about. And so that's my idea, and it's launching next month, September.
Hmm.
So I'm very excited. It's a totally new thing, and I don't think anything like this exists in Nice already. There's plenty of language classes for French learners, for English learners, but I don't think there's anything that brings people together in this way. So I'm really excited about how it's going to work.
But how are you going to approach the levels? Because everybody's at a different level, and you find that there are people who are extremely good and extremely clever at picking up languages, and others that find it, well, difficult.
Yes. So I think in general, this group isn't for complete beginners because it's about conversation. So you need to have, I'd say, what we call A2 level, which is above beginner. You can have a little bit of a chat. Maybe you're a bit limited in what you can talk about, but you're able to, you understand enough to have a little conversation already. Um, and that's where this walk and talk idea really comes in, because as I talked about with the walk and talk group, what happens if you're not just sat in a classroom, and you're outdoors, then there are more options. And if there's a bit of silence while you're working out what to say, it's not that awkward silence. You're able to enjoy the view. You can maybe, move around and talk to a different group where their level maybe is a bit more similar. But either way, and this is what I've noticed with the walk and talk, there's never been a real problem with this. That people really want to communicate, and even if they have a very rudimentary level in either language, they will get a message over, and it might be for 5 minutes, or they might be able to have a longer conversation. But I think the aim of the game is just to kind of just encourage people to have a go. And I'll be very kind of there's an application procedure, so I will make sure people have enough language to be able to take part. And I think also important to say that it's English and French. So if you are fluent in one and kind of not very good in the other, that's okay. Or if you're B2 English and A2 French, that's also okay. So it's kind of fairly flexible. But I will, if anyone's not sure and they're not sure whether it's going to work for them, I will talk to them first before they sign up. So hopefully there won't be anyone who's kind of joining and thinking it's something that it isn't.
So this will be, people have to be committed. So I guess they're going to have to pay something.
Yes, there will be. It's going to work as a monthly subscription,
Okay.
and so for the first people who join up in at the end of this month and the beginning of September, it's going to be 24 euros per month, and it will stay at that level for as long as they join. So we're talking about at least 3 meetups every month, including one kind of activity that will be approximately 90 to 2 hours maximum per month as well. So, and I'm planning to also send out, for those who want it, some materials online or printable that they can prepare. So for each activity, there'll be some vocabulary, some little exercises if they want to practice some grammar. Okay, just a small, it's not, and it's definitely optional. It's just for those who want to. So I think it's a really great option. If you're signing up for language lessons or a language course, you're talking of hundreds of euros, and this is really something that's designed for a longer term. And it's also perhaps something I haven't really talked about. It's about friendship and
Mm.
having a community as well. And I think a lot of people experience this when you join a course, you make some friends, and that's a kind of side part. But in this activity, the friendship and the connections and connecting yourself with the city is fundamental. It's really at the core of this, as well as just feeling comfortable with the language.
I think this is a great initiative. I'd like to see this in all towns across the Riviera. I think it's very brave, and I think you're very good for doing it because I just think it's an excellent idea. As simple as that. And a lot of people just don't like classrooms as well, or as you say, they run out of the benefiting from it because you can learn as much grammar as you want. At the end of the day, you have to speak the language. That's the
Yeah.
target.
And it's such a big leap going from that relatively safe classroom environment to the Wild West, as it were, where, you get everything from people just immediately switching to English if you're trying to speak French. And that can feel, when you've made the effort to speak French, it would be nice to be replied to. But then also some people will just speak absolutely in their fluent French, and you won't understand a word of what they say. So I think for a lot of people, this situation, it's really difficult to overcome. So this is a kind of in between, that you've got the safety of being in a group of people who are all in the same situation, but we're going to always slightly push it. We're going to meet new people. There's always going to be a new activity that will be sort of immersive and get you involved and actively using the language.
Well, if you send me all the links, I will post those and I will
With
encourage people to come along, give it a whirl, and meet
With
some,
pleasure.
well, see some new people, see some new faces, and have new experiences. I think it's absolutely a marvelous idea.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mike. And just very quickly, that actually next weekend, the 23rd and 24th of August, there are going to be a couple of free events
oh,
that I'm organizing. They're going to be in Nice. One will be Saturday evening on the promenade, and the other one will be Sunday morning at the market in Libération, near where I live. And they're free to join. It's an opportunity if you're interested in what I've been talking about. Anyone can sign up. You need to just join me in the Facebook group that I'll share with you. There'll be a link
brilliant.
coming for that.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Claire. I just really I'm bowled over by your initiative and your courage. It takes a lot of bravery to do this and work it out. Because the people that are approaching you, you don't may not know them, or you probably don't know them. So I think that's marvelous. And congratulations on that. And I wish
Thank
you
you.
all the luck on both sides, whether it's the subscription one, which I think is absolutely ace, or just a normal walk and talk. Anyway, I think our time is up, Claire. So I'd
Yes,
like to say thank you so much. And I'll
thank
post the
you.
links. And well, there we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks so much.
And now we keep a smile while I go and hunt for the off button.